Chainsaw Tuesday? Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. It's Chainsaw Tuesday. 230 picks up directly from the ending of 229 after the cliffhanger ending where Denji reminds Yoru about the whole, thing. This obviously causes her to start laughing hysterically. Also blush a little bit too. I mean, this manga is written by Tatsuki Fujimoto, after all. And plus, like, Denji, he's just so simple. He really makes a lot of women in his life laugh with the simplest of words. Yeah, but this is one of those times, I think. She asks him why he thought that she'd avoid the dove. Denji, literally just trying not to fumble and not get killed by Yoru, probably keeps bringing up the promise about sex, but she demands an answer from him. So she tells Yoru in Power about how she tried to always kill him any chance that she'd have, but she had a soft spot for her cat, Meowie. So Denji hoped that deep down Yoru would like Power, which is hilarious to think about Power and Yoru in the same room interacting. I think I need that. I want that. I don't know. I can't make up my mind, but I think they would get along, and it would probably be quite a chaotic time. Though now I do miss Power, and honestly, based on the way this chapter ends, I'm thinking, maybe she may come back next chapter along with Kobeni, Kishibe, Quanchi, and Reze. You never know. This is a rare example, but another example of how Denji values family. In a way, this is Denji saying, hey, let me introduce you to my messed up family. They may be psychotic and murderous, devils even, but they're my family, and I want you to know who they are. And despite everything I do, and they do, I hope you do get along. Obviously, we are about to enter into some funny Denji times here in just a second, but this part remains true. This is Denji's weird way of bringing home the war devil. Shocker, I know. Still, Yoru wonders why he hoped that he would like her. He says something very vulnerable by sharing that he didn't want to be alone and wanted a friend. This is not surprising for Denji to share this and want this. Much of part 2 has been about Denji losing the little family he had, going through all of these traumatic moments alone to somehow coming out the other side as he's always had, which is with people he can call friends, family, or, whatever the hell else you call Yoshida and Lil D. There is a deep sense of longing that Denji has that comes out of what looks like mindless horniness, but since he doesn't know how to express himself as he's not had a single good role model in his life, it comes out a lot like horniness. Yoru asks if they are okay just being friends, which was when things got a little spicy. Denji replies that he wants a friend that he can have sex with, and Yoru's reply... he's nailing it somehow, is with an earnest laughter, calling him a sex-obsessed ape. And in some other universe, this is a really wholesome moment where all of the fighting stops and everyone comes to realize their place in their own lives. But this is Chainsaw Man, and this is written by Tatsuki Fujimoto. There's just going to be this kind of stupid simplicity to it that you gotta peel back. Thankfully, it's not much you gotta peel back. The first layer is just a gooey and messy as you'd think, so you probably don't want to put your hands on it, but the way I saw this was both very weird but also genuine in the dumbest way possible. Yoru really isn't asking if he is alright being friends. He doesn't really want to be friends. We see this in a couple of chapters, one where Yoru promises him sex and the other where she can't really turn him into a weapon. These are hints, and this chapter is Yoru's coming out of sorts and how she really feels about Denji, or has finally made up her mind about Denji. And this is where I think, I guess the charm of Denji starts to click for me in my mind. The comment, for example, where Yoru calls him a sex-obsessed ape is on, the gooey and messy surface, very off-putting and maybe potentially a little insulting. But this is actually Yoru acknowledging what is charming about him. She loves how simple-minded Denji is. And another thing is, sex is often seen as the most simple and effective ways of communication that humans have, or rather the ultimate form of communication. Relationships, as an example, require quite a bit of it. There are outliers, I understand that, but by and large, healthy relationships require going down to Bone Town a lot. If you view it in that way, we find that Yoru likes that Denji is dumb. That's basically it. Denji is attractive to women who like dumb men, and that's not a bad thing. I'm dumb, and a lot of people are hopefully attracted to me. I mean, for Christ's sake, we all like chainsaw men and women a lot, and let's be real, most of these sad people in this series are kinda dumb, but that's not a bad thing in every context. Sometimes dumb just means simple-minded in the case of Denji, and that is, say it with me now, an attractive quality to some people with those particular preferences. Good, you got it. You may not be able to do trigonometry, I suppose, but you can definitely and very easily land your perfect partner no matter, and without any effort in some cases. But people are simple at the end of the day, and Yoru being a devil, she is naturally very stupid. And I do mean that as an insult, because I will not forget all the malarkey this woman has caused. But I will admit I do actually really like Yoru. This is probably obligatory at this point, but she then tells Denji that she hates Chainsaw Man, but she likes Denji. So she calls a temporary truce, which was, might I remind everyone, kind of the point here? I mean, this was the only way to stop Yoru and save Asa. She then does good on her promise and promises to have sex with Denji with the consent of Asa along with it. We'll talk more about if that's actually what she meant later in the video too, but I'm already seeing it now in my mind with Asa just all over the internet being called a cuck, which, you know, I hate to admit it, I really do, but if this is true, then that's the only way you could probably view this, and even then, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that. I mean, I don't know how to put it, so I don't know. I'll let you guys decide in the comments. And so, in a mirror from Chapter 1 of Chainsaw Man, that's right, this is a mirror, Denji is brought back to life, covered in Chainsaw Man devil goop, with Yoru in her lap straddling him. I think many will probably just see this and go, ooga booga, spicy scene, Yoru's butt. But I think this is rather clever in a weird way. Makima in Chapter 1 held Denji in her arms and promised him the bare minimum. Yoru did the same thing by holding his life in the balance and did something not even Makima did. Which is listen to what Denji just had to say. You know, like talk it out, come to an agreement, smoke crack. Oh God. This is the only YouTuber you will probably ever watch just yap about nothing and make jokes to himself in his room. When you break the fourth wall of my videos, you'll find that a lot of what I do is kind of goofy. Anyways, Denji's dream in Chapter 1 was to play games with a cute girl, hold hands, dance and kiss. He wanted good grub, a nice place to sleep, and friends. In Chapter 230, Denji wants a friend he can have sex with, so he won't have to be lonely. On the surface, these two things seem disparate, whatever. In fact, Chapter 230, it seems like Denji has regressed into only wanting sex. But my friends, especially younger readers who may not get this, this is not what you should view this as. Chapter 1 and Chapter 230, those desires that are espoused are the same things. Both are at their base level examples of ways we can achieve happiness. The difference is that in Chapter 1, Denji has zero experience with literally anything. His view on happy living was something a 10-year-old would dream of. I'm actually kind of surprised he didn't bring up how he wants Power Rangers for Christmas or whatever. But in Chapter 230, he has since matured into knowing what he wants, which is to at least never be lonely again. He says he wants a friend to have sex with, but that is yet another step to the ultimate goal of happiness and realizing his truest desires. He's getting closer. He's getting a little warmer as he goes on, right? That's the point. On the surface, he says he wants sex, and deep down, it really honestly does feel like the point. He doesn't want sex. Sex is just a way to achieve the ultimate thing he wants, if that makes sense. It doesn't just stop at sex. He wants to have close relationships with people, and since he is simple-minded and has had bad role models who have tried to abuse and groom him, he longs for sex as one of his main methods of communication. That's deeply psychological and very hard to understand. But this is sometimes how very damaged children act, especially when their growth mentally and emotionally are stunted and they get into their adult years, we'll say. How do we know this is true? Well, one, raise his hand. I've experienced this in my family, so, anecdotal experience. You learn a lot of stuff. But chapter 167, Denji wanted Yoru to cut his dick off because he longed to have a sexual release and felt it made him a bad person because of that. This is right after he was rescued from prison and lost Nayuta. This is an admission that from Denji that he is at his core just a sexually charged person. It's just one of his main methods of communication and he obsesses over it. That's fine, I guess. And remember, in 167, he tried to go to a sex worker too, remember? So this was how he felt he was able to clear his head, which is actually what he said on the train in the chapter before, and he thought he would gain a sense of clarity. Now, this is not to go, haha, funny, post-nut clarity, brain rot. It's deeper than that. This is more so about Denji's messed up head. He tried to cut his own genitals off because he felt guilty over his own needs as a man. That's messed up. And as we go throughout Chainsaw Man, we see that Fumiko tried to groom him, sexually assaulted him even. Makima groomed him. Himino. Reze abandoned him for all he knows. Yoshida blew himself up. There's probably more examples that I'm forgetting. We have to understand that Denji is not really similar to any of us. We don't think like him or understand him. We have to look deeper past his simplicity to understand his complexity and his trauma, too. Denji cheers in celebration with Yoru in his arms as he finally got something he always had wanted. A consenting relationship with a woman! See? You put it that way, it starts to make it a little bit more clear. While it is hard to believe, Denji is in a consenting relationship with his, obviously, definitely girlfriend Asamitaka, and the war devil inside of her head, Yoru. It's strange, I know, but this is Fujimoto. So as this is happening, a horde of devils descend upon them and upon the humans on Earth. And we get to see one of the series' most fascinating characters return to give us monologues. Yippee! Each Fumiko are apparently named via the countries they reside in, which is goofy as hell, and I love it! India Fumiko reports in a, quote, buttload of bats devouring people. Good old Canada there, eh, bud? Linosaur there in the bud. Hey there, bud. Fumiko reports that there are a massive insect swarm eating the people there, bud. Canada Fumiko then explains that the higher a species' fertility, the more offspring get culled at birth. But since nobody can die, natural selection no longer applies, and everyone is immortal. This has brought on an apocalypse of really awful proportions. From now on, the fuel for reproduction will be humans, as they are all eaten alive and remain alive even after they are simple pieces of flesh as India Fumiko dies, or, well, I guess, put it that way, you know what I mean. She continues to speak into the phone as bugs crawl into her room, explaining that when all of the Fumikos gathered in the village, they all talked while gazing at a fireplace. Oddly, each Fumiko has different worst fears. At the time, she couldn't decide on hers, but now she knows it is dying in this horrible, horrible way. This is here to show that the decision to eat the Death Devil was not a good one, even if it did lead to this good outcome for Denji, Asa, and Yoru. It also confirms that the Fumiko Devil, which is who I'm calling the STD Devil at this point, are their own personas with their own but similar perceptions despite being clones. I do wonder if this comes down to the people maybe they were before, maybe they all retained traces of the minds they would eventually take over. So Yoru and Asa try to tell Denji they need to flee as they are surrounded and out of blood. And so Denji, riding on the euphoria of possibly sex with Yoru, refuses to back down. And the last page is a near direct mirror of chapter 1, when he says, literally word for word, if you're going to get in our way, then die. Except cleverly, from Fujimoto, he kept in mind that Little D is currently dead, so instead of saying, then die, he just kind of simply forgets how it goes. Thank you, everyone, for watching this week's video. You can check out my new Don video from yesterday on chapter, I think it's 226, and as well, you can check out next week's Chainsaw Man video if it's already out. Make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.